Welcome back to Grade 8 Geography, Unit number 2, Global Inequalities, Economic Development, and Quality of Life. This is lesson number 13, What is Quality of Life? Here's a question to get you thinking about the focus of today's lesson. If someone were to ask you to describe your quality of life, what things would you take into consideration? A couple of possible ideas might be uh, how much money your family has, uh, how good your healthcare services are in your community or your country. I want you to put the video on pause. Consider your answer to this question because we will discuss this at the start of tomorrow's class. Let's begin our new unit by looking at a new and very important term. Quality of life means the general well-being or happiness of a person or society as measured by the number of basic needs which they are receiving. Basic needs include food, water, shelter, and health care. We can also determine our quality of life by looking at how much money we make, how much education we receive, and how happy we feel with what we have. So a lot of people think of three things. They think of health, wealth, and stability. That means whether they have a stable home, whether the economy is stable, whether there's a stable government in their country. So you put all three of these things together, and in the middle, that's where you get an idea of what your quality of life is like. People with a high quality of life are able to meet all of their basic needs. They have money to buy things that they do not need to survive, but that they want. Entertainment systems, cars, etc. In a country with a high quality of life, people feel safe and satisfied with their government. On the opposite side, people with a low quality of life live in poverty. This means they have little or no money and they are not able to meet all of their basic needs. Countries that have a low quality of life have often been badly damaged by wars, diseases, and natural disasters. Here are two more terms which are very important to this unit. Equality means that all people are treated the same way, regardless of where they live and what their backgrounds are. Inequality is the lack of equality between people or groups of people. Canada in general has a high quality of life. Many have safe drinking water, receive a very good education, and have money to buy what they need and want. However, inequality does exist in Canada. There are Canadians who have a low quality of life. Around a third of Canadians do experience poverty and homelessness. You might just want to put the video on pause just to read some of these statistics in this graphic right here. Geographers use several indicators to measure quality of life. An indicator is something that can be observed or measured. The first indicator is income. Income is an important indicator because it usually affects other indicators. That is, a person's income affects whether they can pay for their family's education, health care, and housing. Access to safe drinking water is another indicator of quality of life. A country that has a high quality of life is able to provide enough safe drinking water for all of its citizens. In a country with a low quality of life, Many people have to drink contaminated water. This leads to disease and shorter life expectancies. So just looking at this world map here, we can see there's a great deal of inequality in terms of access to safe drinking water, with North America and Russia and these northern European countries having access to safe drinking water throughout their borders, whereas in countries in Africa, Middle East, and Asia do not have a very, well, they have a very low level of access to safe drinking water. Another important indicator is the literacy rate. Studies have shown that literacy can reduce poverty, lower unemployment, and improve parenting and nutrition. This is because people who read and write can share their ideas and their knowledge with each other. People can read nutrition labels on food packages and instructions on medicine bottles, and so they were able to feed and medicate themselves and their children wisely. Access to education is a very important factor. In countries with a high quality of life, the majority of the population has at least a high school education and some post-secondary education. Governments in these countries invest in schools and libraries. Citizens in countries with a high quality of life make demands that their governments do what they can to ensure that those less fortunate still have an opportunity to go to college or university. In a country with a low quality of life, people do not have equal access to education. There are several reasons for this. Parents may need their children to stay at home to help on the farm or raise their younger siblings. Children may lack transportation needed to get to school. Gender inequality in education is also a major issue in developing countries. So again, another world map where, again, we see in Canada and the United States, there's a much greater level of gender equality, meaning that males and females get equal access to education. But then we see that in Russia, in the Middle East, Asia, we see a lower level of gender equality, and we see very high degrees of gender inequality in the Middle East and in parts of Africa and South America. The final indicator we are going to look at today is life expectancy. This is an important indicator because it gives us a general idea of a country's quality and availability of healthcare. Countries that have a high quality of life have invested in strong healthcare programs that help people live into their 80s and 90s. Countries that have a low quality of life have very weak healthcare systems, meaning that a higher number of their citizens die earlier from preventable diseases. Okay, so let's finish today's lesson by considering the following. Of the 5 indicators we looked at today, income, access to safe water, literacy rate, access to education, and life expectancy, which 2 of these 5 indicators do you feel are the most important? Okay, you want to put the video on pause to consider your answer because we will have a little debate about this in tomorrow's class. But until we meet again, this concludes today's video.